Yes. So greetings, everyone, to welcome you all to the collaborative webinar organized by IEEE DEIS and CIGRE US Next Generation Network. The webinar is titled Key Insight, and our distinguished speaker for today's session is John McDonald. Of DSYP, I have the honor to introduce myself as Sneha Hegde.
And my name is Andres Lasso. I am the CIGRE USNC co-chair for professional development and webinars. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. So as a friendly reminder, we would like to inform you all that this webinar is being recorded. Be mindful that any questions formulated during the session will be included in the recordable to the public. The slides and video will be made available on the IEEE CIGRE US National Committee website and or on the YouTube accounts under everyone within 48 hours. We kindly request you that you reserve the end of the presentation, and during the question and answer session, please in an orderly manner to ask your questions. And alternatively, you can also use the chat here to post your questions, which we'll address soon after the presentation. We kindly request that you mute your line during the presentation. If you encounter, please use the chat box to request assistance. It is with great pleasure that speaker for today's webinar, John McDonald. With 48 years of utility, transmission, and distribution industry, John is currently the business development at GE's Grid Solutions. He holds a bachelor's in electrical power engineering from Purdue University, as well as University of California, Berkeley. His extensive contributions include being a Life Fellow of IEEE and a CIGRE honorary member, multiple other titles, positions, and achievements. With 100 articles, 5 co-authored books, and 1 US patent, John's is valued in the field. Without further ado, let us extend a warm welcome to Floor for his presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sneha, Andres, and Mateos. I really appreciate the opportunity, to speak today. What I'll do is I'll bring up my slides here, and as Sneha said, we'll have some time for questions afterwards. I'll make sure we get through the material and have some time. So keep track of any questions you have. I think when in the industry we're very used to technical talks. We have a lot of technical talks, but what's very important is to manage your career. Okay. And I find with many students and young professionals, when I talk about career, they're really not sure. They really haven't thought about their career in detail, what they need to do. So what I've done is I've gone through my career, which is almost 49 years now, full-time engineering work. And there were 12 key decisions I made that impacted the rest of my career. And if my thought was, if I can go over all of these with students and young professionals, and if you know this information early in your career, you have a head start. I stumbled upon these as I worked, but if you can know all these early, you have an advantage. So that's why I put this talk together. Now, one thing is, you can see from this slide, I really encourage you, and I'm gonna talk about this over and over again, is when you get involved in outside activities like IEEE, like CIGRE, but don't just come to a meeting and sit in the back of the room, volunteer, take a leadership position, and help lead the group. Okay, you'll get more benefits out of it, and I'm going to talk more about that. You can see I've had a number of leadership positions and still continue. I'm on the board of directors right now of the IEEE Foundation, and we'll be in New York City on Thursday through Sunday with IEEE board meetings and IEEE Foundation board meetings. Okay. Couple other things too is I've been an IEEE member 52 years, and as Sneha said, I'm an IEEE Life Fellow. So that's a combination of life member, which means you're at least 65 years old and have been a member at least 35 years, and a fellow. I've been an IEEE fellow now for over 20 years. I'm married 43 years, have 2 children and 2 grandchildren. I also, I work out with a personal trainer. I just had a very tough workout, a little bit ago this morning, a lot of cardio, but I've been working out with a personal trainer for 12 years. This is my 13th year, run 5K races. I'm 71 years old and I'm in better shape at this age than I have been my whole life. I regularly beat at boot camp in the morning all the younger people. On the lower right photo there is my trainer, who is a professional American football player for the Chicago Bears and the Atlanta Falcons. His name is Des White. He's been my trainer this is the 13th year. And the top picture is my son and I. When he's a Georgia Tech electrical engineer, worked at GE for 5 years, got his MBA at Duke University. In the morning after his MBA ceremony, we ran a 5K race on the Duke University campus, and this is at the end of the race. So what I'm going to talk about is you want to have a balance in your life between work and life, between work and health and family. Health is very important, and I struggled with this because I have 4.5 million miles on Delta Airlines. I travel a lot, spend a lot of time with customers, giving talks, teaching courses, and it's very easy to put work at a high priority over your health. But if you think about it, you can always get another job, but you only have one body for your whole life, right? You can't get another body. You have one, and you really need to emphasize that and take care of it. And that's nutrition and also regular exercise. And what I found was regular exercise helps me with my work. I have a clearer mind. I'm much more confident because I've done something at boot camp in the morning I didn't think I could do. No stress, right? And you just feel great. I start every morning with a very intense 1-hour boot camp. Okay. So this is an article that I wrote for IEEE Potentials magazine. This is the magazine for IEEE student members. It was the November-December 2011 issue. And if anyone's interested in it, the whole article, let me know, and I can send you a PDF of the whole article, or you can find it online with IEEE. But I want to emphasize a couple things here. When I graduated from Purdue with my bachelor's and master's, it was June of 1974. And my first job was in downtown San Francisco working for Bechtel Corporation, an international architect engineering company. And the photo on the right is a photo of me at work in 1975. So you can see the style back then was for me, longer hair, black glasses, and big sideburns. We call those lamb chop sideburns, but that was 1975. So I started, I was very specialist in power, and was doing all the power system studies for mining and metals projects. And my manager at the time, he would it was an open office concept, and he would turn his chair around and he'd have me explain all my calculations, all my studies to him. We would spend hours and I'd go over things very detailed. And then when the client came into town for a project meeting, he would present all of my work to the client, and he never gave me any credit. Okay. And this went on and on for months. And I could have done two things. Okay. One was I could have just said, I'm not putting up with this. I'm leaving, either leaving the project or leaving the company completely, because I'm not getting credit for the work I'm doing. The other option was what I did. I said, you know, nothing in the workplace is forever. Nothing in the workplace lasts forever. And I really believe good things happen to good people in time. Okay. Continue doing good work, continue supporting people, continue being friendly with everybody, and good things will happen to you. So my first bullet here, don't let a disappointing work situation affect your attitude at work, because it will change. One Monday morning I came to work and this guy, his desk was empty. No books, no paper, no pencils. He was gone. And you can see in the photo over my shoulder, fellow in the white shirt, he was the chief electrical engineer for the project, a guy named Chuck Wahlberg. And he came to me when I got to work that morning. He said, hey, John, from now on, when the client comes into town, you will be the one to present your work to the client. You know, he says, I know you've been doing all the work and you haven't been getting credit. You will now start getting credit. What an unbelievable opportunity for a 22-year-old young person. You know, when the client came into town, I was in these project meetings with leaders on the project that were, you know, 20, 30 years experience, senior people at the company, and I was by far the youngest. So it was a phenomenal opportunity for me that if I would have made a quick decision and said, I'm not putting up with this, and left, I would have missed that golden opportunity. Okay. The other thing was, we had a fellow on the project who actually sat behind me, who was on the phone all day making decisions for the project. And I thought, you know, boy, if we ever lost this guy, the project would not be successful. Again, another Monday morning coming to work, his desk is empty. Okay. And the project was very successful. So it really taught me a lesson. My second bullet here, no one is indispensable. Continue to do more than expected and provide value to the company, okay? But truly, if you ever think you're so important to a team or so important to a company that they couldn't be successful without you, that's risky. Never have that feeling, because everyone is dispensable, okay? So, you know, projects, teams are successful. You can replace somebody or lose somebody and still be successful. So be careful of that attitude. Never think that you're so important, you know, that the team wouldn't be successful without you. Also, third thing, you want to, as engineers, sometimes we're too precise with what we do, particularly with calculators, computer programs. And when I was at Purdue in my bachelor's and master's, there were no calculators yet. I used a slide rule for all my calculations. It wasn't until I started working at Bechtel Corporation that I received my first calculator. And I'm doing studies now and calculating, for instance, current, like 22,422.35 amps, okay? And my boss at the time said, hey, John, what I want is accuracy without precision with all of your work. Accuracy without precision. Let's be accurate, but don't overdo it, okay? Don't overdo it. Now, I personally, my major professor at Purdue wanted me to stay and continue my studies and get a PhD, because my master's thesis was what was the world's first three-phase unbalanced load flow. It was the first time in the world we've been able to model the power system on a full three-phase basis and get it to work and solve the mathematics. So there was a lot more we could do, and I could have stayed and gotten a PhD, but the two things that were important to me when I got my master's degree was, one, was to start working, making money, and what I enjoy is applying complex concepts in the real world. I also enjoyed teaching, explaining complex concepts to others so they can understand them. But the other thing was I wanted to get an MBA. A good engineer should understand the business side of the technology. That's very important. So when I was in San Francisco, I went to University of California, Berkeley, one of the top MBA programs in the United States. And I got an MBA in finance. So I worked during the day with engineering work, and I did a full 2-year program, MBA program, at night. Took me 3.5 years of taking 2 courses per quarter, 6 courses per year. And you know, an engineer needs to know how to build the business case for a technical project, the economic justification. And I've seen many engineers not get their projects approved by senior management because they didn't know how to frame, they didn't know how to express a technical project in business terms. In the United States, what's very important is a professional engineer license, what we call a PE license. And it's 2 8-hour exams. The first one is the Fundamentals of Engineering, or FE exam, which I took at Purdue as an undergraduate. But then I have my professional engineer license in 3 states. I took the exam in California in 1978, and then I got registered in Pennsylvania in 1982 and Georgia 1986. These are the 3 states in 49 years that I've done engineering work in. So I'm registered in all 3. This is very important. You want to get your professional engineer license when you're young, and all that technical knowledge is fresh in your mind, because you never know in your career when you'll need it. If you do architect engineering consulting work, it's really required. In my first company, Bechtel, when I started in June of 1974, they told all of us recent college graduates, you won't get your first business card from us until you pass the PE exam. Okay? And you can't, you have to wait. Once you've passed the Fundamentals of Engineering exam, you have to have enough years of work experience before you can take the PE test. The nice thing was a master's degree counts as 1 year of work experience. So I could take the exam 1 year sooner than those that just had bachelor's degrees. Another thing is, I'm going to talk more about this, is serve as a mentor for young engineers. Always go out of your way to help your peers, particularly help younger people make decisions for themselves, and be successful. And then get involved in outside activities. This is so important. I say IEEE Power and Energy Society because my specialty is power and energy. But find a society. There's 39 societies in IEEE. But give talks, teach courses. I've been involved in developing industry standards with IEEE for over 35 years. I chaired the substations committee in IEEE PS in 2001 and 2. The 3 benefits you'll receive: you learn much more about the technology. You'll develop an extensive network of key industry contacts, and you'll learn a lot about how to lead, leadership. Okay, so mentoring. Why is mentoring important? Well, think about when you're at the university, when you're a student, you learn the science of engineering, courses, textbooks, professors, but the value you bring to a company when you're hired is not what you learn at school, but it's how you apply the science of engineering in the real world. And we call that the art of engineering, okay? And you can't learn the art of engineering quickly, and you can't learn it in a book, okay? You have to spend lots of time with experienced people, and just absorb, ask them questions and absorb the things that they tell you, okay? So important. And so you want to accelerate your understanding of the art of engineering through a mentor, at least one mentor, okay? And spend regular time with that mentor, at least an hour a month, okay? And you'll learn so much, about technology, about leadership, about just life in general. also. Now at GE, the business I'm in, we had a reverse mentoring pilot project where a young person from GE who just graduated from college and was hired into our IT leadership program, our 2-year rotational program, and he mentored me. And we did this for over 3 years, actually. And his picture's in the lower right, Chris. And it really was fun. He taught me a lot about software applications that were available at GE to help me. And I taught him a lot about the industry. And Computer World Magazine did an article on reverse mentoring. Could only find 2 companies that did reverse mentoring. One was Cisco and one was GE. And so they interviewed Chris, and this is the link to the article. They interviewed Chris and asked him, you know, what benefits have you received in the reverse mentoring program with John? And his photo was in the magazine. So when they contacted him, he said, "Hey John, I need your help." He says, "I've never been interviewed by a magazine before." And I said, "Chris, you'll do very, very well." And we talked about it, and he was well prepared for the interview. Okay. In the middle picture is Shatali. Some of you may know her. She's bachelor's degree in Mumbai, India, master's at Michigan Tech in the United States in electrical engineering. And I've been mentoring Shatali for probably 6 years now. And this photo was taken at her first IEEE PES conference in 2018. And I helped her get approval from her manager to attend. Upper right is Chen Yan. She was getting her PhD at the time at Texas A&M University, and I was judge in a poster competition with 17 PhD students at Texas A&M, and she won. She was the best of the 17, and I helped her then get a full-time job at GE doing software development on computer-based control systems for electric utilities. Okay. Now, the other thing is, you know, no matter what, you know, how senior you are, you can always get help with a mentor. For me, I've had an executive sponsor at GE. It's a senior executive that I spent time with, and it's really a good opportunity to find someone to confide in, you know, a senior executive, and get really valuable feedback. And that was, you know, he was a company officer of GE at the time, and really, we had lunch, we had dinner and then lunch, and I could say anything to him and get some good advice. The upper picture here is CIGRE Paris, a Paris session in CIGRE, and you know, in the middle is Pat Ryan, who was the executive director of IEEE Power and Energy Society. He passed away from cancer a couple of years ago, but I hired Pat in 2007 when I was the IEEE Power and Energy Society president. And then on the left here is Miroslav Begovic, at the time a professor at Georgia Tech, and at the time the president of the IEEE PES, who's now the department head of electrical engineering at Texas A&M University. And I go to Istanbul, and I was doing keynote talks at a Smart Grid conference, and I put a panel session together the next year. And you can see in the lower picture, the left, it's myself, Damir Novosel, and Miroslav, 3 past PES presidents. And then on the right, Jay Geary, very well known in the industry in power and energy. So we had just finished a panel session in front of 5,000 people at a Smart Grid conference in Istanbul. Now, many people, you know, have 100% internal focus. In other words, they go to work every day, they do a good job with their work, and then they come home, but they're 100% internal. In other words, just really more focused on their job. But the risk is that you're making decisions for your company that may not be the best decisions because you don't know what's happening in the world around you. So you need a balance between internal and external focus. Internal, what makes your business tick, but external, what's happening in the world around you. You could make a decision for your company to buy equipment from a vendor, and there's an IEEE standard being written, and when the standard is published, there's a new communications protocol that's now being used, and the equipment you recommended your company to buy is now obsolete, okay? Because the new standard was published, and now everyone wants to use this new communications protocol. So decisions made without incorporating external trends and influences could be suboptimal, and they could put your company at risk. Okay, so you really want to balance between internal and external focus. This top photo is in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and I'm moderating a panel session of actually key industry, key utility executives who were customers of GE. In the bottom, there was a trade show in Sao Paulo, and I'm with all of our GE young people in our exhibit booth just prior to exhibit's opening, and we're getting fired up to talk with customers when they open the exhibition area, okay? The world is so flat today that international experience is a must, you know, and it's not just enough to travel somewhere, but you want to work, spend time there, work there, get to know the culture, get to know the people. You know, there's regional differences in technology, industry standards, regulation and policy, and business cases. You could develop a product in North America and have a strong business case in North America, but no business case in other parts of the world. You just can't assume that what's true in your country is the same all over the world. It's not. There's regional differences, and you need to know those to be successful. So look for minimum assignments, so 6-month assignments. You know, try to work all over the world, get the experience. You know, discuss with your manager, utilize your network to find opportunities. Learn the differences in cultures. You know, for instance, you know, when we exchange business cards in Asian countries or with Asian people, right? I put my computer bag down, I put papers down, I take my business card, right, with 2 hands, and you formally present it to the other person, because this is the culture, right? This is what they do in Asian countries, and you want to respect that culture. I've worked all over the world. As I said, 4.5 million miles just on Delta Airlines. The lower right there is I did consulting work for Scottish Power, and my last name is McDonald. You know, so my father is Scottish, and my mother was Greek, so I'm quite a combination. But my dream was to go to a wedding in Scotland and wear a kilt, and have the kilt be my family tartan, my family clan tartan. So here I am in Edinburgh at a wedding. My wife took this photo, and my tartan, my kilt is the Dress McDonald tartan. And this was my dream. It was a dream day for me. But what an experience. And talk about learning culture. Immerse yourself in the culture. Don't just read about it, but do it, okay? In the upper right, my son fell in love with a beautiful girl from Mumbai, India. So I'm very proud to say I have family in India, in Mumbai. And so here's my son on the left with his wife, Mita, and my wife and I. And you see I'm wearing my red kurta. And we had a combination Hindu-Christian wedding in 2016 in Atlanta for them. But here we're in Chicago, in the Chicago suburbs, and we're going to an Indian wedding of friends of ours, and we're just leaving the hotel here to go to the wedding. So again, you know, immerse yourself in different cultures and really learn them firsthand. Now, training is extremely important. There's internal training and external training. A lot of times your manager, when you start working, may not think this is that important. Sometimes you have to drive this yourself. Determine the training courses you want to take for the next year. They should be part of your annual review with your manager, and drive it. Make sure that it happens. You want to continually take training classes, okay? On the lower left here, Professor Minnie Thomas from New Delhi, India, a very close family friend. You know, I first taught a 2-day course at her university in New Delhi, Jamia Millia Islami University, over 20 years ago, okay, when we met. But Minnie and I spent over 2 years, and we wrote one of my 5 books is a book that Minnie and I wrote called Power Systems SCADA and Smart Grids. SCADA is Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. This was 2015 at the IEEE Power and Energy Society General Meeting in Denver. For the first time, we were holding a copy of our book. We had spent years working on it. We saw it, the final edition, for the first time. So we were very, very excited, and we had a picture taken of us holding our book for the first time. And on the right, lower right here, you know, one of the premier, well, actually the premier university in China in power engineering is Tsinghua in Beijing. And I was invited to give a smart grid workshop at Tsinghua University in Beijing. And this photo was taken lower right after the workshop, okay? External training, this is courses outside your company. Again, you want to be familiar with those. They could be IEEE courses for electrical engineering, could be industry conference tutorials, university continuing education courses, distance learning courses. I've done a lot of recorded courses for IEEE. You know, if they're some are IEEE Smart Grid, some are IEEE Power and Energy Society, and some are IEEE educational activities. They're all available online. You know, I give tutorials at most of the IEEE Power and Energy Society conferences and meetings. I'm teaching next month at Georgia Tech here in Atlanta with Professor Sakis Miliopoulos. We teach a 3-day continuing education course every March on modern energy management systems. And these are very popular and always available. And then, of course, distance learning courses. You know, choose some of these to take every year. Again, discuss with your manager, get approval. And the professional engineer license that I mentioned in the United States, when you renew your license, many times you get audited and you have to have a minimum number of continuing education credits or your license will not be renewed. Okay, so it's very important. Upper picture here, Professor Aaron St. Ledger is at West Point, the United States Military Academy, and he established the IEEE Power and Energy Society Young Professionals Group. And here he is. I was teaching some courses for him at West Point, and he had photovoltaic panels installed on the roof of the electrical engineering building, and just inside the classroom there, you can build a circuit and power the circuit from the sun, right, from the PV panels. The middle photo is in San Jose, Costa Rica. I've been a distinguished lecturer for the IEEE Power and Energy Society for 24 years, and I give many, many distinguished lectures every year all over the world. And this was the night before giving one in San Jose, Costa Rica. In the middle is Juan Carlos Montero. He's the treasurer now of the IEEE Power and Energy Society. And on the left is Jeffrey Peralta, at the time, the chapter chair. And the lower photo is I'm giving a workshop at a university in Istanbul, Turkey. Okay. So the other thing is job length. I find a lot of times younger folks, they're kind of in a hurry. You know, once you master something, you want to move on. And I kind of call that the microwave mentality, right? Growing up with microwave ovens, you're used to, if you want lunch, you can have lunch in 15 to 30 seconds, right? We're used to instant gratification. And so, you know, when I started work, I said, hey, I need to be on this job for a while to master everything. I need to learn the technology in depth, but I also need to meet all the key people and learn from them. And that takes time, you know, maybe 3 or 4 years. Today, I see young people after a very short period of time say, they say, I've learned everything and I want to move on. And I'm thinking, well, be careful, because the risk here is you become a surface person. You don't have depth in anything. You just have surface knowledge. And the problem is when somebody talks to you, they learn that right away. If they ask you questions, you can't go into depth on anything. when you're interviewing for a job, the company you're interviewing for, they don't learn anything from you because you just stay on the surface of everything. And your company's customers won't want to spend a lot of time with you because they don't learn anything. You're on the surface. You need to spend enough time with everything that you do to learn the depth and to learn information from the key people. So, also longer assignments force you to live with the impact of your decisions. Okay, so just some examples. Lower left, this is a picture from U.S. history, actually. My brother, who's a year and a half younger than me, is being sworn in as the 8th Secretary of Veterans Affairs for the United States. So my brother was a cabinet secretary for President Obama from 2014 to 2016. And I held the Bible here for his swearing in ceremony in Washington, D.C. Okay. But his job was limited by the second term of President Obama. When it finished in 2016, his job ended, right? And then on the right side, this is fun. This is a 1-pound hamburger at Bub's Burgers in Indianapolis. And if you can eat the 1-pound hamburger in less than an hour and all the trimmings, the salad and stuff, they take a photo of you and put it on the wall of the restaurant. Well, I've competed in professional eating contests all my life. I can eat a tremendous amount of food and never gain a pound. And so my granddaughter, Ashley, was sitting next to me, and I could have eaten 3 of these or 4 of these 1-pound burgers. I ate this whole thing in about 5 minutes, never stopped. And the picture on the wall of the restaurant is the middle picture here. I said, Ashley, I want you to sit on my lap, and we'll hold the plate up, and we'll say, all gone. We ate everything. And that's the picture on the, on the wall of the restaurant. So again, a 1-hour time limit with the eating, and my brother, a term limited by the president he was working for, the U.S. president he was working for. So here's what I mean about depth. Focus on depth with everything you do. You'll have more value within your company and much more value with your company's customers. Now, external focus with industry participation and leadership positions provides you that depth and broader perspective. That's why I keep emphasizing have a balance between internal and external focus. Companies are really looking for depth people, okay? And they can tell surface people right away. So a good example of that is this photo on the top. My daughter, for the first time, got side loading washer and dryer. She had always had top loading. And these are my 2 grandchildren, Ashley and Nolan. They walked by this new washer. My daughter was doing a first load of clothes. For the first time, they could see the clothes spinning around. They had never seen that before, right? A surface person would have walked by and said, well, that's nice. But what was interesting was they went and got their little chairs from their little table in a different part of the house, carried them over to the utility room, and sat and watched the clothes go around, okay? That's a depth person. And the lower picture is Ashley when she was very young at their house, and I was going to give her a horseback ride, and just for fun, my wife put our dog at the time on my back, Sky, who was my buddy, and she was very comfortable. She wasn't going to leave, and so this is a surface type thing. Ashley was looking for the depth here, being a horseback ride. That's what she was used to. And she was looking and saying, why won't Sky leave? I want to get up there and get a horseback ride. Okay. So the other thing is this microwave mentality in our industry, we're too transactional. We do things very quickly, and we really need to have a balance between transactional and strategic, right? Transactional may get orders in, may get business right away, but are we keeping our pipeline of opportunities full? Once all these transactions are done, do we have anything in the pipeline? So it really needs to be a balance between transactional and strategic, right? You want to position the business and close orders. That's the balance. So the top photo here is an IEEE Power and Energy Society governing board meeting. I was on the governing board of the IEEE for 12 years, and I was president in 2006 and 7. I have a fork that, before we had LED pointers, our pointers were like a telescoping. They were metal, and you could collapse them down to like the size of a pen. But when you wanted to use them for a pointer, you could expand them. Well, I have one with a fork at the end, and I used it at all the governing board dinners to steal Manny Venkata's dessert. When they served dessert, I would sneak over behind a couple people, and I could expand my fork, and from far away I could steal his dessert. So he caught me here. You see him holding my fork and with his hand up in the air. And this is quite a photo. In the back row is Mel Olkin, the first IEEE executive director on the right. In the middle, Roberto DeMarca, he was the IEEE president at the time, and then Professor Minnie Thomas, and then Jay Geary in the front center, very well known in industry. In terms of transactional and strategic, the epitome of strategic to me is the lower photo. I had an opportunity 5 minutes to talk one-on-one with Captain Jim Lovell. If you remember the movie Apollo 13, he and 2 other astronauts with an explosion in space were trying to figure out how they could use limited oxygen and limited electricity to save their lives, right? To work with Houston's control center and get back to Earth alive. And it was amazing this was, he actually lives in Chicago. This was a GE customer event here that we invited Jim Lovell to come and speak, but what an amazing conversation to have talk about strategy with your life at stake and the lives of 2 other astronauts and limited resources to get back to Earth. You guys, networking is so important. In 49 years of my career, I've had 6 jobs, and every job change was through a friend in my network. Every one, okay? So you always want to develop your network, but provide value with every acquaintance at every event. Cultivate long-term relationships and stay in touch with personal relationships on a continual basis. Always provide value to as many of your friends as you can. And I really mean this. Future job opportunities, both within your company and outside your company, will come from your network. Top photo is my wife and I with Al and Pat Rotz. Al Rotz was a IEEE PES president after me. And the bottom photo is Professor Noel Schultz in the middle and her husband Kirk. Noel was a IEEE PS president, again, after me. And Kirk is the president of Washington State University, and Noel is a professor there. And I come and I give invited lectures to Noel's electrical engineering classes, and I stay at the president's house on campus. So here, this is the president's house with Noel and Kirk on the university campus, okay? Social media is so critical. LinkedIn is the most important thing for all of us, This is how, so many companies, the HR departments in companies will pay LinkedIn to keyword search profiles. This is how they find candidates for very, very good jobs. So you want to develop a detailed personal profile and keep it up to date. My profile has been graded by our social media experts at GE on 14 criteria, and I have one of the top profiles in GE. So if you want, if you aren't connected with me, connect with me and look at my profile, look at all the sections of it and how detailed it is, and grow the number of strategic connections. I have over 16,000 connections on LinkedIn. I keep in touch with a lot of people, and if you're connected with me, you can see there's a lot of postings by people where we've done things together, or by me about things that I'm doing. I also am active on Twitter for work and Facebook for personal use. So upper picture here is an interview I did for the Weather Channel on the 10th anniversary of the big blackout in the US and Canada in 2003. So this was in 2013. And the lower picture, lower right, is an interview, a live interview I did in Istanbul, Turkey. Okay, so work-life balance. I want to spend a couple slides here. Always have a good balance with family, with your personal health, and with work. I always wanted a job where I had flexibility to do things with my two kids and my wife. I did a lot with my kids' activities. I was president of 2 homeowners associations. I was a Cub Scout den leader, assistant scoutmaster in Boy Scouts. My son and I are both Eagle Scouts. I coach soccer for both of my kids. And what you find is, don't tell your kids what you want them to do, but you have to do it yourself and set an example. Never be too busy with work to talk with your spouse or kids. When I've had a home office since 1995. When my kids would come home from school, my kids are now, my daughter's 41, my son's 38. But when they were in school and would come home and have something to tell me, they'd come into my home office, middle of the afternoon. I may be on a conference call. I would never tell my kids I'm too busy with work to talk to them. Okay, I would tell the people I'm on a conference call with, I said, hey, listen, I have something to talk to my daughter about or my son about. I'll be right back. And I would show them, I'd stop my I'd get away from my conference call to talk to my kids. Okay. And always, spend quality time with your spouse and kids. No email, no texting. I see this all the time. iPads, I see it with my grandchildren. And apply probe in work and family situations. Don't be too transactional. When you talk with people, probe, ask questions, show interest in the person, align, connect, find ways you can provide value to them. And if you do that, what raise means, if you have something you want them to do, if you've shown interest in them and you've connected effectively, they will always do what you ask them to do. And I use this in work and family situations. So the pictures on the bottom are family pictures, my wife and I on the left. My son, when he was 6 years old in kindergarten, with our Hawaiian shirts on. This was an activity in his kindergarten class. And then we recreated that photo many years later with him sitting on my leg. My daughter and I at a reception, a wedding reception for a friend. And then our family loves dogs. We're very much dog lovers. And you can see there's actually 4 dogs in that photo. My granddaughter Ashley's holding a small black dog. That's my son and his wife. And we have there's 3 golden doodles. The brown one is Bruno. That's my wife's and my dog. And then the 2 white ones are my daughter, her husband, and my 2 grandkids. Okay. So as I said, include your spouse and kids in work and industry activities. I would always take mine to IEEE PES meetings when I would get awards. My wife and I always chaperoned our kids' activities. The more you can understand kids that are the same age as your kids, the better job you can do of raising your own kids, okay? And so lower left is my wife and I with our golden doodle, Bruno. We just finished a training class for Bruno. Next photo is on the night of my birthday with my 2 grandchildren jumping up on my back. We were just having birthday cake. Next photo is I volunteered in Ashley's 3rd grade class at the time, and I did Math Center for all the kids, and her teacher took this photo right before I left, and Ashley's holding the Math Center work that we did. And I love the photo because I was leaving and her teacher said, hey John, let's take a quick photo before you leave. And I got down on my knees. Ashley put her arm around me and we took that photo. And then on the right is at Disney World with my grandkids. Okay. Also, you want to spend a lot of time with your career planning. Short-term and long-term goals should be a part of your annual review, but most managers just focus on last year. What happened last year. You need to drive this, like training classes, getting an MBA, internal goals, external goals, and you need to take the initiative for anything external. Your company will probably not encourage you to do it, but follow through with your manager. And everything you do, bring value back to your business, okay? Lower left, some of you may know Babak Enyati. Babak is the current VP of Education for the IEEE Power and Energy Society. I've been mentoring Babak for probably 15 years now, and he's done a great job, gotten very, very involved with the IEEE and IEEE Power and Energy Society. Middle picture is an industry conference, and it was the conference banquet, and these two young professionals were graduate students at Arizona State University, and the one in the middle, Cho Wang, is working now well, she was at American Electric Power. She's now at AES, and I mentor her, continue to do this. It's been about 6-7 years now, and she was just in Atlanta for industry meetings, and we got together just in the last couple weeks, and it was great to see her. She's married now, and we keep in touch, and I help her with her career. And then on the right side, in the middle, is Professor Ella Macram. She's retired now from Clemson University. And also on the left there is my nephew, my daughter's son, Sam, who went to the Citadel, and he's doing consulting work now for Ernst & Young in cybersecurity, okay? And I'll finish with this last slide. It just shows you all the experiences you can have with IEEE, with CIGRE, with industry activities. The upper right is at IEEE, at the headquarters in Piscataway, New Jersey. Lower right is in Tunisia. I gave 4 distinguished lectures to students and young people in 3 different cities in Tunisia, in Hammamet, Sfax, and Tunis. And this is one of the group of students wanted to take a selfie group photo here when I finished my talk. The next photo is in Ghana. I represented IEEE on a humanitarian trip to Ghana and Zambia in Africa, trying to figure out how we could bring electricity to more people, okay? This is the IEEE leadership in Ghana. The next photo is in Bologna, Italy, at the University of Bologna, the second oldest university in all of Italy. On the left is Professor Carlo Alberto Nucci, very well known in CIGRE and IEEE. And on the right is Professor Cecilia Metra. She was the IEEE Computer Society president a couple of years ago, and very involved with IEEE, okay? Bottom left is in Lusaka, Zambia. And this is the IEEE leadership in Zambia. And the upper left is Barry Shoup, was the IEEE president in 2016, and his wife Linda. And this was his retirement ceremony. He was the department head of electrical engineering at West Point, and he retired from the Army. And I was invited to the retirement ceremony. This was very special because my brother went to West Point also. This was a very special photo. This was after his IEEE presidency and his retirement. So let me finish there, okay? You can see a lot there, and I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, thank you, John. First, kudos for you. If you have a Strava, I don't know if you know what it is, but let me know and I'll add you now to track workouts. So thank you, John, for this amazing and inspiring presentation. It really made my day. Now we'll do the Q&A portion. I have a couple of questions here. One of them is kind of like, there are multiple questions in it, but so you have a very energetic and impressive career path, including MBA and PE license. Kind of like all the questions are related of what's all the magic? What's your secret to do it all? What enables you to keep developing your skill set to this level?
That's a good question. I would say that I always want to. I always feel like I can do more. I pride myself on being very busy, and Sneha will tell you. When I spoke at the IEEE Rising Stars conference last month in Las Vegas, Sneha was there. I gave a 1-hour talk on how to build and lead a volunteer team of people like IEEE or CIGRE. And the first thing I said was, I build a team of the busiest people I can find. Okay? Not the least busy, but the busiest people. And people say, why? They won't have time to do things. No, no, no. The busiest people are the people that get things done. They pride themselves on being busy. They do good work. They beat deadlines, and they pride themselves on being busy. And that's, I pride myself. I love to be busy with things. I want to get involved, but I want to get involved as a leader. Okay, and I want to always take courses. I want to always you know, do better. I'm very competitive, whether it's eating or boot camp or whatever it is. I want to win. Okay, I play in tennis, whatever it is, and so I always want to be better. I always want to do my best, and so I'm very good at managing my time. And that's the other thing, is you have to be very, very good at managing time. A lot of the young people I mentor, I teach them how can you do the best job of managing your time so you can do a lot of things at the same time and do a good job, and always be early with deadlines and always provide value to people. So that's the thing, is you want to approach things, you know, don't rush into things. You know what I mean? Take things calmly, think about them, figure them out. How are you going to approach them? And then do it. Never feel like you're overwhelmed with things. That feeling is something you give to yourself. Don't do that. Take control of what you're doing, and always be in control. Be calm, but always be friendly with people, and always provide value to everybody you talk to. All right.
Thank you, John. Very good answer.
It's amazing how much you can get done if you manage your time and you take control of things.
Thank you. We have a second question. How do you go? How to go about mentoring? Do you need to have a relationship with the mentor first, or is it acceptable to call, contact, and ask for mentoring?
You know, there's a couple ways to find a mentor. I think you want to have it natural. Okay. In other words, the more external activities you get involved in, IEEE, CIGRE, the more meetings and conferences you go to, you're going to run into experienced people that you talk to. There'll be some people that you have a good chemistry with, you know, and people that have experience in the things that you want to learn. Maybe technology, it may be leadership, it may be life in general, and then the important thing, never be afraid to ask a busy, experienced person to mentor you. Okay, I was giving this talk once, and a young woman from Africa who's working on her PhD in Florida, she had targeted a young woman in the Power and Energy Society that she wanted to mentor her, but was afraid to ask her. You know. And there was my webinar where I said, have the courage to ask. Don't be afraid to ask. And after my webinar, she had the courage to ask. And the young woman said, absolutely, I'd love to mentor you. Okay? And so don't be afraid to ask, but have it be natural. Other ways, I've had students and young people just message me on LinkedIn and said, hey John, I just listened to your webinar. I really need some help with my career. You know, would you help me? And so some of the young people I mentor is through LinkedIn messaging. But again, don't be afraid to ask. That's the main thing.
It's almost 9 over here, but let me rephrase the last question, which is quite good. So you seem like a very calm and even skilled individual. Have you always been this way, or have you had to learn patience and control of your emotions to life, you know, with the anxieties, the stresses, and so on?
That's a good question. I think I've always been this way. Okay, I you know, I don't get worked up that much. The one problem I had when I was younger in my career as an engineer, I overanalyzed every situation, and I took too much time to make decisions. And I had a manager once, this was around 1989, 1990, and I didn't really like this person. Truthfully, I didn't respect him a lot. He didn't have a strong technical background. He didn't understand anything that we did, and he was my manager. But he gave me some very good advice from his perspective. He said, John, every time, like the CEO of the company, every time we discuss something and people want you to do something, you never agree to do it right away. You always have to analyze it over and over and over again. But eventually you agree to do it, and you always do a great job. He says, why don't you just say yes in the beginning? You know, and he was right. I overanalyzed everything. And I knew I would do a good job. I knew I could figure something out right away. So that was very good advice. But I think you want to, don't get worked up. You want to approach things calmly, you know, and really think through things. Don't mess up your mind with nervousness, you know. Don't feel overwhelmed. Stay calm. And I see, Andres, I see Jingy from the UK. She's a good friend. She asked, I think in the chat, I'm very competitive. What happens when I lose? You know, and I played competitive tennis for 12 years. Jingy does a lot of competitive dancing in the UK, and I've seen some of her dances. But when I came home from a tennis match when I was younger, my wife never had to ask me if I won or lost. She knew right away from my behavior. If I lost, I would replay the match, and there would be some point that something I could have done better, and I let it bother me. And I said, what are you doing? That's not a good thing to do, you know. Prepare as much as you can for what you're going to do. When you're in a competition, do everything you can to win, you know. But when it's over, if you haven't won, that's okay. The main thing is learn from, you know, if you came in second or third, learn from that and do better next time, okay? I ran my first 5K race only because my son said, Dad, I want you to run with me. And I said, Mark, I've never run a race before. Dad, he says, you're going to do it. You're going to have fun. Don't worry about it, okay? Just do it. So I run this 5K race with my son, not knowing, I have no GPS watch, not knowing what I'm doing. And we finished, and he starts with me, my son, but he's an excellent runner. After about a half mile, he says, Dad, I'm going to go up ahead. I'll see you at the finish line, okay? And so when I got done with that race, 55 men finished in my age group. 55 men finished in my age group. I was 20 seconds from a third place trophy. Okay. And I realized I was very good at that unexpectedly, but I said 20 seconds in a 5K race is easy to make up. It really bothered me that I was 20 seconds from a trophy. And so that motivated me. I said, next year I'm running this race again. I'm training for it, and I'm going to win my age group. I'm going to win it by a lot. No one's going to come close to me, okay? And so I trained for the next year, and I ran my personal best time of my life that next year. And I won the age group. No one was close to me. Everyone was over a minute slower than me in my age group. But I used that, the fact that I came, 20 seconds from third place, I used that to motivate me to really work hard to do better next time. So that's what I've learned is you can't win everything, but you use that experience to learn, and work hard and do better next time. That's the main thing. And that's what I do now,
Thank you, John. Extremely inspiring. I think we are over time, but anyway, thank you very much. I would like to go even through more questions, but I think our time is up. So again, thank you for sharing your time and your knowledge today. I would like to thank our attendees as well with all the contributions and questions. Similarly, I'd like to thank Sneha and all IEEE DEIS Young Professionals Group for arranging this webinar. And please stay tuned for the next CIGRE USNC webinar as well.
And also stay tuned for the forthcoming webinars by IEEE DEIS.
Okay, guys, see you soon. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.